Let's move to our fourth tool. You've asked, even tried to mirror, but you're getting nowhere, so paraphrasing isn't an option. What next? At this point, you may want to back off. After a while, trying to make it safe for others can start feeling like you're pestering or prying. If you push too hard, you violate both purpose and respect, so instead, you back off. At other times, you may conclude that they'd like to open up, but still don't feel safe enough. Or maybe they're still in violence, but haven't come down from the adrenaline and aren't explaining why they're angry. When this is the case, you might want to try priming.
What's that supposed to mean?
It comes from the expression priming the pump. If you've ever worked on an old-fashioned hand pump, you'll know what I'm talking about.
You mean the kind where you have to pour some water into it to get it running. Then it works just fine.
Yes, only when it comes to power listening, it means that you have to pour some meaning into the conversation before the other person will do the same.
I still don't get how the metaphor applies.
An example might help. A few years back, I was working with an executive team that had decided to add an afternoon shift to one of their work areas. The machinery wasn't being fully utilized, and they couldn't afford to keep the area open without adding a 3 to midnight crew. This, of course, meant that the people currently working days would now have to rotate every 2 weeks to afternoons. It was a tortured but necessary choice. As the execs held the meeting to announce the unpopular change, the existing work crew went silent. They were obviously unhappy, but nobody would say anything. The operations manager was afraid that people would misinterpret their actions as nothing more than a grab for more money. In truth, the area was losing money, but the decision was made with the current employees in mind. With no second shift, there'd be no jobs. He also knew that asking people to rotate shifts and to be away from their loved ones during the afternoon and evenings caused horrible burdens. As people sat silently fuming, he did his best to get them to talk so that they wouldn't walk away with unresolved feelings. He mirrored. "I can see you're upset. Who wouldn't be? It's no fun rotating. Is there anything we can do?" Nothing. Finally, he primed the pump. He took his best guess at what they might be thinking, said it in a way that showed it would be okay to talk about it, and then went from there. "Are you thinking that the only reason we're doing this is to make money? That maybe we don't care about your personal lives?" After a brief pause, someone answered, "Well, it looks like that. Do you have any idea how much trouble you've now added to our lives?" Then someone else chimed in, and the discussion was off and running.
Isn't that risky? I mean, making up some nasty idea just to see if it's accurate? Couldn't you be planting bad thoughts into their heads?
This is not the kind of thing you would do unless nothing else has worked. You really want to hear from them, and you have a very strong idea of what they're probably thinking. Let's return to Sam, the medical specialist, and see how he uses priming to find out what has Susie concerned.
No, he's been around for years and years. I guess he knows what he's doing.
Well, are you worried that because he's a more senior physician that he might not be giving you the best or the most modern treatment?
I don't mean to seem unfair, but he does seem to have lost a little off the old curveball, if you know what I mean.
So you're afraid that he may not be quite as current or as effective as he was a few years ago?
It did cross my mind. I mean, don't they have a retirement plan for doctors once they hit 100?
No wonder she was reluctant to say what was on her mind. That's kind of a hard thing to discuss.
That's right. It was a crucial conversation. If she walked out with that story, would she be back? How many other people might she influence with a story about the place full of decrepit has-beens? Now that the topic is discussable, Sam can put more meaning into the shared pool, or he can use it with the healthcare center to improve business.
So let me see if I have this straight. Our goal is to get others to share their path to action. We can see that they've either gone to silence or violence, and we're doing our best to get them back to dialogue. We see and hear their actions, might have a guess as to what they're feeling, but it would help if we could find out what they concluded and why. What happened to them and what story are they telling? Once we get the facts into the pool, we're in a better place to deal with them. Now, in order to do this, you've suggested that we use power listening. We bring amps to the conversation. First, we ask to get things rolling. Then we mirror to confirm feelings. Next, we paraphrase to acknowledge the story. And finally, we prime when we're getting nowhere.
That's right. Of course, we can use these tools in any combination that works. Once you get things moving, keep it moving. Ask questions, show interest. Do your best to uncover why a reasonable and decent and rational person would think, feel, and act that way. Try to understand the facts, the story, the feelings, and the way they're all connected up.
I can see how these power listening skills might help when others are going to silence, but what about violence?
When people start forcing their ideas down your throat, tossing out ugly labels, or maybe even using threats, it's because they're afraid.
Are you saying that using the same app skills would help with an angry person? Even that guy who was real mad about the auto repair shop pricing?
Absolutely. In fact, let's return to the scene and listen in as Jackie uses power listening.
I talked to you about the price differences. You even initialed it here. I didn't want there to be any surprises.
Well, now, doesn't that just tear it? I mean, for one time in my life, I'd like to be treated fairly at an auto shop. Your pricing practices make me sick.
Whoa, wait a minute. There's no reason for you to get abusive just because you can't remember a simple conversation. This is your fault, not mine.
Oh, really? Well, how's this for a newsflash? You deinstall that fancy new part you put on my car and you tow it to a place that's not going to rip me off.
What? And eat the labor costs? Because you're too stupid to read the estimate? Look, mister, if you want your car, you pay the bill, or I'm keeping your heap right here.
Are you threatening me? Because if you were threatening me...
Oops. That's what happens when you don't use power listening. You get hooked and respond in kind. Let's look one more time. This time, Jackie gives it her best shot.
Your pricing practices make me sick.
I'm sorry that we've left you with such a poor impression. We want you to be happy with our work and feel good about our pricing. We certainly don't want you to be upset with us. What have we done that has you so upset?
You pulled a bait and switch on me, that's what you did. I saw a TV special that exposed just such scams.
So you believe that we gave you a bid for a lower price, and then once we had your car, jacked up the price and took advantage of you?
Well, yes.
In fact, you believe that auto mechanics in general simply can't be trusted.
Sad but true.
You know, we're aware of our industry's reputation, and we've gone to extreme measures to ensure that these kinds of practices don't happen. For instance, in your case, I wanted you to know both options, hoping that I could save you some money with a rebuilt part. But maybe I didn't make it clear that when we couldn't get one.
Do you think that could really work? That guy was pretty angry.
Nothing works all the time, but power listening provides us with our best chance to get people back to dialogue. It helps others calm down and return to content. It lets people know that you care, you want to understand, and you want to help rectify the wrongdoing, if any. It's our best tool, and it's what effective people do all the time.
How about when people are just forceful or pushy? How would listening to them get you back to dialogue? If you listen to them, won't it just encourage them to continue in their forceful ways?
Power listening helps us move people from their current actions back their path into the source. When people are trying to force their ideas into the pool, it's helpful to find out why they care so strongly about something. What did they experience that led to such a powerful conclusion? It's the same old game. We need to get back to the facts. Once again, the idea is to create safety so people can tell the whole story, facts and all.
All right. Say you get good at helping people move from silence or violence and back to dialogue. What if what they say is wrong? Now what?
This can be tricky. If we've worked like crazy to get others to either calm down or open up, if we then jump in with a strong disagreement, we can undo the safety we've worked so hard to build.
So what is it? Do we talk honestly and risk safety, or do we hold back and keep it safe?
I think we've talked about those kinds of choices before.
You mean suckers' choices?
Our goal is to say what needs to be said, to state our opinions, to disagree or even say something that's not all that popular and still be heard. It doesn't have to be either one or the other. To do so requires some care. First of all, when someone says something and we do agree, let's make sure that we don't turn agreement into a battle. It's startling to watch, but it happens all the time. Rather than clarifying how we agree, we focus on the disagreement.
Of course we do. It's the part that matters.
You're right, we do have to get to the disagreement and find out how and why we differ. By the same token, it's important to know what we share as well. Besides, starting with how we agree keeps the tone more easygoing and respectful.
Hey, wait a minute. Did you just do that? Did you just start with how you agreed and then talked about how you disagreed?
Sort of. I did talk about how I agreed. Then I added a piece, not a disagreement, but a new piece of information. It's called a build. I build on the part I agree with. I agreed that it's important to surface differences, and then added that talking about shared meaning was okay too.
But that time you added a disagreement, right?
Yes, I started with how I agreed, then I compared what you said with what I thought to be true.
What do you mean you compared?
Rather than coming out and saying I disagree or that you're wrong, I stated what I thought to be true by comparing it to what you said. This gets my meaning into the pool without being disrespectful. So, to help us avoid turning agreements or partial agreements into arguments, we use the acronym ABC. Agree when you can, build on what you agree with, and when you do appear to disagree, compare. Agree, build, compare, ABC. Our goal today was to do two things. First, to find a way to help others share their thoughts and feelings, and to do so in a way that helps keep us in dialogue. We learned how to apply our power listening skills to move people away from either silence or violence.
That's where the AMPs came in. Ask, mirror, paraphrase, and prime.
Yes, and then we learned how to stay in dialogue even when we disagree by sticking to our ABCs. Agree when you can. When people leave elements out of the pool of meaning, build. Start with how you agree and then add the new meaning. Finally, when you see things differently, compare what they said with the way you see things.
Man, this seems like a lot of work.
For some of us it is. For people who do it naturally, it comes easier. But you know what? No matter the effort, the alternative is far more costly, aggravating, and time-consuming.
Yeah, but silence and violence can be more fun.
Yeah, I guess it sometimes does feel that way. On the other hand,
I was joking. Lighten up a little. Can't you tell when I'm just messing with you?